各位线上的朋友大家好，欢迎来到全球市场趋势线上研讨会，我是外贸协会的郭灿宇。本集节目将带您探讨印度的电动车市场。这次的研讨会是继2月的欧洲电动车市场研讨会以及4月的东协电动车产业研讨会之后，本年度第3场跟电动车相关的研讨会。根据印度电动车制造商协会 SMEV 的统计，印度在2020年的电动车销量较前一年成长了 20%， 达到了 15.6 万辆。加上印度政府提供优惠方案，吸引国际车厂在印度投资，印度的电动车未来发展值得期待。本期节目将邀请2位讲者，分别是印度电动机车公司 Hero Electric 的执行长 Sohinder Gill， 以及印度车辆制造集团 JBM 的执行董事Nishant Arya， 为您分享他们对电动车市场的看法。我们这次有荣幸邀请到 Hero Electric 的执行长 Sohinder Gill， 他同时也是印度电动车制造商协会 SMEV 的理事长。那我们欢迎 Sohinder Gill 的精彩分享。
Good morning. This is Sohinder Gill here from Hero Electric India. And thank you for this opportunity. I'll try and take you through the electric vehicle scene in India, particularly two-wheelers, and also we'll talk a little bit about Hero Electric. Before that, a brief introduction about myself. I am a mechanical engineer and a management graduate, and I have been in two-wheeler automotive space for around 35 years, mostly with Japanese companies like Honda, Yamaha, and such like companies in India, and mostly in manufacturing, marketing, projects, international business and strategy. With Hero Electric, I am here for the last 14 years now, from the day Hero was born in electric. And from that day to till now, we have had ups and downs in electric mobility in India, and I'll take you through that roller coaster ride. First, the industry, particularly about the electric two-wheelers. See, today, government policies are really driving electric vehicles in a big way. It was different few years back when there were many departments in the government talking opposite to each other. But the last 2 or 3 years, state governments, central government, and other concerned ministries, they are talking in the same tune that India must become electric in two-wheelers, three-wheelers, and buses at least. Cars can follow. And within electric mobility, they say that they are going to push all the policies for two-wheelers, three-wheelers, and public transport. That's why central government comes out with many policies. The recent policy, which is FAME 2, which is expected to be over next year, is likely to be extended. And so many state policies, like you see on the right, many states in India like Delhi, Tamil Nadu, Telangana, Kerala, Uttarakhand, and Maharashtra, they have come out with favorable policies for electric mobility. And that's why the confidence in electric mobility in India from industry point of view has grown stronger in the last 2 to 3 years. And there are so many policies, if I put them together, they are certainly driving from customer incentives point of view. That means the customer directly gets a benefit when he buys an electric vehicle, and also indirect incentives from supply chain support point of view, where recently Government of India introduced a production linked incentive, and then the support system like charging infrastructure. So these are the 2 or 3 areas where government is trying to intervene. In the state level, the governments are also attracting manufacturers to come and get their manufacturing plants by giving various incentives on land, capital expenses, labor, and taxation benefits. So they are attracting manufacturing of electric vehicles into their states, particularly in the South India. This is the type of a present and a near future of electric vehicles in India, where 99% of electric vehicles are scooters, e-scooters and e-autos. We call them e-rickshaws because they are low speed, very, very basic level of four-seater passenger vehicles for last mile connectivity. The volumes in India have not been too much. As you see, the black bar shows electric two-wheelers, and the line graph shows electric three-wheelers. So we find the electric three-wheelers taking the lead, followed by electric two-wheelers, and then others. Buses are very few, 720 buses in 2021. But going forward, the green bars show the projected growths, which are going to be in the order of, say, doubling or so in 2 years' time. Let us understand how the petrol two-wheeler stands today in India. The IC engine two-wheeler stands here. So you find that the current IC market, there are three price segments. The top segment is 90,000 rupees plus. Then the mid segment, which is 70 to 90,000. And then there's an entry level segment of 30 to 70,000. You would see from the pyramid on the left that 65% of the products lie in a very low pricing level of 30,000 to 70,000. And 20% of products are in 70 to 90. So put together, 85% of the products stop at 90,000 Indian rupees. And only very few products, which is 15%, go into a premium segment of 90,000 plus. That's where it's taking time for electric mobility also to set in. Because the products in electric two-wheelers, if they are made in the premium segment, they certainly cost almost 1.5 times of 90,000 Indian rupees. And there are very good products in India from Ather, from other companies like Revolt, and now recently Bajaj and TVS, which are crossing 100,000, 115,000, even after subsidy. That is why these products are liked very well, but people do not want to buy them because they find it very pricey. In electric mobility, on the right side, if you see, there is a small pyramid, FY20, where how the market today is stacking up is 69% of the products are in the price level of 30 to 70,000, and 28% into the second 70 to 90, and 4% products are only into cross 90,000 in electric mobility. And in FY25, we think, my personal feeling is that the market would be in the price levels, 49% of the market on the last pyramid you will find will be in the low end pricing, 35% in the mid pricing, and 15% in the high pricing. So one has to keep, when you do business in India, this fact in mind, that customers are very, very sensitive on prices. Because the total cost of ownership has not yet taken into the minds of people that in the long run it will give benefit. So they go more by sticker price and see whether they can buy something almost same priced as a petrol two-wheelers or even little less priced as a petrol two-wheelers. And that is why the volumes in the mid segment and the low segment have gone up, not so much in the higher segment. What we believe is that electric vehicle adoption in India, as I told you, will be policy driven, obviously battery prices driven, to a certain extent charging infrastructure driven, maybe not too much in the two-wheeler space, but in the B2B two-wheeler, surely, where you have deliveries and such like places, and supply chain localization. So if these four factors are taken care of, we find that electric mobility can take off much faster than where it is today. But if you see at present, generally 50% of items, if they are localized, then electric mobility will be slightly slow, because Indian government is very clear, they want everything localized. If charging infrastructure is little slower, it will take a lot of time. So these 4 factors have to be primarily there to be able to take electric mobility to a different height. But otherwise, electric two-wheeler especially has sort of already shown signs of big volumes. And we believe, and many policy ministries are believing, that at least 20% penetration, and some people are even saying 30% penetration of electric two-wheelers in 5 years, 4 years to 5 years from now. So if it happens, it will be 2 to 4 million unit sales of electric two-wheelers by FY25. And within that, there could be a possibility of 30% of that being in the deliveries, commercial sector, business to business, B2B market share. On the right side on the pie chart, one can see is sort of an analysis which says when the market becomes 4 billion, then city speed scooters would be 50% of that. Why we say city speed is they are a little different from high speed, which are same performance as Honda Activas or Hero Pleasures and so many scooters or motorcycles, because those high-speed electric scooters are very, very costly. So many manufacturers have started coming out with city speed scooters, which are in the price in the speed range of 50 kilometers per hour, 40 to 50 kilometers per hour, with a battery size of 1.5 to 2 kilowatt hours, and a price which is little less than the petrol two-wheelers. So we believe that this will be the major market in times to come. And today market, which is low speed market, which is 25 kilometers, less than 25 kilometers per hour, 1 kilowatt hour battery, that will slowly shrink. Today it is 85% low speed scooters. In future, in 5 years, it may become 25 to 35% only. So this is how we believe that motorcycle 10 to 15%, premium 10 to 15%, city speed 40 to 50%, and low speed 25 to 35% is our projections of the market in 4 to 5 years from now. Now, again, this in some way we are trying to show that because Indian customer is so price sensitive, that's why we have to see in India, when you launch a product, it has to be, first sticker price has to be less, then the running cost has to be less. Third thing can be total cost of ownership has to be less. But in order of priority, first is sticker price, then the running cost, daily running cost, and then the lifetime cost has to be kept in mind. Hero Electric, we are there for 14 years now. We are dominant #1 player. And we believe that we can keep growing at a much larger pace in future. Therefore, all our plans are doubling our production and sale year on year from here on. We are the strongest brand because we have the legacy of Hero. Hero is a well-known name in the country. We have a largest network in India. Today it is 500 plus touch points, dealerships. And we have a market share of 33% plus. So these are our strong points. This is our factory. It is around 300 kilometers north from Delhi capital. We have a modern factory. It's a part of a campus where our bicycle plant is also there, and electric bikes are also made in that. We are expanding the capacity at the plant to doubling of that beginning from this month. We have started a new building which will double the capacity of the plant in a year's time. Well, just a historic development of how we started from a small base, launched a low-speed scooter and an electric cycle, and then we went into a growth phase. And in the current year, which ended on 31st March, we did 50,000 electric scooters, 50,000 plus electric scooters. And this was a year which was a year of COVID and pandemic. So there was a lot of issues. There were no sale for 3-4 months. So we lost and we did sale for 9 months. And in 9 months, we could do 50,000 plus. One of the things that we have worked very well is all our scooters have portable batteries. And within portable batteries, all our 90% of our electric scooters today have one size of battery. So we have unitized the battery, we have standardized the battery, and we keep on adding one or more or one, two, or three batteries if the range requirement is higher or power requirement is higher. That is why we are able to manage the battery inventories very well. We are able to take care of the costs very well, and we are able to give the flexibility to the customer of taking out 1, 2, or 3 batteries and using only partially if he doesn't want to go to long distances, and also charge at home or charge in office or charge anywhere he feels like. Opposed to that, the high-speed scooters, which are premium scooters, they cannot have portable batteries, because even if you call them portable, they will be very, very heavy. That is why all these products like TVS, Bajaj, Ather, they have fixed batteries. And the batteries obviously are very, very heavy also and very costly. And that's why the customer in such cases, for a premium product, waits for charging infrastructure to come. Because the battery cannot be taken out, it cannot be taken home. So he has to have some sort of a charging facility in the parking lots or in the offices or in commercial establishment. That could be the one reason for premium products not taking off in a big way. Charging infrastructure is gaining ground. There are so many parties which have come. ABB, Delta, Siemens, and so many homegrown solutions have come. So today in India, one can find 2 or 3 types of solutions emerging. One of them is charging. Second is swapping. Even swapping is being tried in India in a big way by Sun Mobility, by Ola Electric, and lithium-ion. And India is thinking of using even petrol pumps for swapping stations of batteries. But mostly the chargers are AC simple, 230 volt, 220 volt chargers. DC charging points have started coming now. Hero, we have found our own solution to it. On the right side, if you see, you find, say hello to Hero Electric, e-bike charging point. So what we try to do is that because we have portable batteries, customers don't really need to charge on the road, but to give him the confidence, we have started giving these type of boards and installing them outside roadside shops, small roadside shops which sell small things like ice cream vendors or Xerox operators or cigarette operators, shops. So these shops, they hang outside the shop a charging board saying Hero Electric charging point. So in case, for some reason, if you run out of charge and if you are on that road, you can go to the nearest point, stand there for 15-20 minutes, get your bike charged, and reach home safely. These are very, very low-cost solutions, but that gives a lot of confidence to the customer that from 7 in the morning to 11 in the night, if I am stuck somewhere, I have some help of charging. So it is giving us very good results and hardly any money spent because these are just small, simple sockets. Like I was telling you, our network is spread all over India, and right from north to south, west to east, we are present. And we are fairly present across all India, except in north, up north near Jammu Kashmir and Assam, where we are adding more network now. And in times to come, we are doubling our network, because network strength is most important. We find that electric two-wheelers cannot be sold only online. It has to go through a dealership. People have to sit on the vehicle. They have to have a touch and feel of the vehicle. That is why we believe that online plus offline works very well in electric two-wheelers. These are some of our showrooms. We have simple, small, neat, clean showrooms. They are not lavish. They're not very big, because we don't want too much of money spent by dealerships onto the showroom. We want their profits to come at least in 2 to 3 years' time. And that's why we don't spend money on dealership, but we don't ask them to spend too much of money also. So you will find small size showrooms as against petrol two-wheeler showrooms in India for Hero Electric. But they are exclusive. They have more than the showroom. They have a very good workshop, which is electronic, which has all the service possibilities of taking care of vehicles on electronic side, like batteries, controllers, motors, servicing, etc. We have a very strong focus on service, because even if we say that vehicles are hardly requiring any maintenance, but electric two-wheelers require a lot of education and awareness. That is why we make sure that every dealer we make, his service team is fully equipped, and this workshop is perfect, because we want the vehicles to come back every 3 months, 4 months, and that is why you give free service also, to come back and see whether everything is being used properly, whether batteries are behaving properly. And at that time, we try and educate the customer on proper usage of electric vehicle. In case of business, we even go to the customer's place to service the vehicle. We call it doorstep services. And that's why we have regular meets with those customers, their riders, their drivers, how to use the vehicle properly, how to get the best out of the vehicle, how to feel proud with using electric vehicle. So that is an exercise which we do very extensively. That is why our focus is much more on service than in sales. And also, we believe, because electric two-wheelers make a lot of sense in deliveries, in courier companies, in commercial segment, because that is where the money is saved is seen from day one. We try and build very strong relationships with all sorts of institutional buyers, like Amazon's, Swiggy, Domino's, Zoom Cars, Sun Mobility. So there are so many partners we have in the B2B, where we have given them 500 vehicles, 1,000 vehicles, and they are trying it out. And in times to come, we believe that this sector will become very, very promising for us, because that is where we also commit uptime of 96%, 95%, and we take care that nothing goes wrong on the vehicle because of doorstep services, proper management, dedicated teams. So the customer is happy with the performance and he saves a lot. A simple equation is, a delivery guy normally in India uses a liter of petrol a day, which in India costs around 90 rupees now. Against that 90 rupees, our city speed bikes, which have 3 years warranty on batteries, they only need charging for a day, which is costing 15 rupees or 20 rupees a day. So from day one, the customer starts saving that 90 minus 15, which is a big saving for a customer. That's why in a B2B segment, there is a very big promise of higher volumes in times to come. We have a wide product portfolio. We try and create variants out of the same base. For example, on the extreme left is a very entry-level vehicle, which is very low priced. And on the extreme right is a premium product. But everything finishes from 40,000 rupees to 90,000 rupees. and within the same, optimize the largest selling vehicle we have. And we have 4 versions in that. We still have a small amount of lead batteries, but we are 90% into lithium now. So these vehicles are available, some of them are available in low speed and city speed itself. This is how electronics and software technologies are getting connected to electric vehicles. And that is where perhaps I find that Taiwanese electronic leadership and Taiwanese IT experience can work hand in hand with Indian software and Indian IT expertise to bring electric mobility to a little different height. In this chart, what we are trying to show is that in electric two-wheelers, obviously from where we are, when we do 10 times, when we do 5 times, we will have to come back with much better technologies, much better electronics, and much better innovativeness in cell chemistries, battery management systems, thermal management. Also think how to do battery swapping, because that is very promising in India, like Gogoro does in Taiwan. We want to do it in a cheaper way. Then smart charging, fast charging. So again, in powertrain, very high power electric motors when we go to premium products, advanced motor controllers, and electronic hardware behind the controllers. And in connected bikes, obviously IoT and software backend for the IoT. And lately we are experimenting with narrowband IoT, NB-IoT, because in India, again, because of price sensitivity, people don't want to pay on a monthly basis. So NB-IoT is a promising future for India also. I have been so often going to Taiwan and meeting so many industry leaders and policy leaders. And I have been always saying in the last 4 or 5 years that India is an opportunity. But somehow the speed of the opportunity is still not that great. What we thought would have happened 3 years back is happening now. But it is certainly happening. So if I have been saying that come to India 3 years back, perhaps it was too early. But if I say now, please come to India in these fields, I won't be out of tune, out of time. Because very soon, I believe, the supply chain will get confidence in India of making the right components under localization regime, but with a lot of technology infusion from outside. And between Europe and Taiwan, obviously, our heart and soul is towards Taiwan. So we believe now is the time for the component makers, for the technology providers, especially in these fields, to start talking to Indian counterparts and think where they can make good business sense. As far as Hero Electric is concerned, we are also looking for the next level of reliable motor controllers, efficient transformers, no hub drivetrains. Right now, we are all having hub motors, but we want to change to the off-hub motors. And similarly, one of the things, because we are using one battery system, we have 3 batteries, we want to have a parallel discharging and parallel charging system. So we are trying to innovate, but we are not there. So we are looking for technologies which can contribute to parallel charging, parallel discharging of series of batteries without spoiling one of them, and with balancing inside that. And smart chargers is a need of India because of high voltage fluctuations, high different type of usage conditions. So a lot of work can be done in the charging itself. Testing and validation, infrastructure, we always import. We don't have much in India. So that is something the equipment suppliers, lab equipment suppliers can work on to supply to India. Something connected to testing solutions or advanced manufacturing solutions for electric two-wheelers. So in a different way, I would say these are the areas in which we are seeking total localization, but some of them with technology infusion. Some are very small, even connectors, for example. Because of so much of swapping happening, the battery connectors have to be very, very reliable, very, very quick. And we cannot be asking customer to fiddle with the connector, male and female, to try and connect. So it should be automatic connecting. So small things also are there. Then in regeneration, we are looking seriously into the premium end vehicles, having a lot of regeneration facilities within that. So as Hero, we are looking for small startups as well as mid-sized companies to be able to provide us back-to-back technology or innovative solutions for mostly around batteries and motors, motor controllers. Because in India, there is a lot of problems of high temperature and misuse of batteries. So we are giving 3 years unconditional battery warranty, not in terms of kilometers or life cycles, unconditional. And the batteries have to perform at least 1500 cycles to be able to give that. But Indian temperatures being something like 45 degrees centigrade, goes up to 48 degrees centigrade in summer, dusty conditions, rough roads, the battery packs don't last that long. So we are looking for better algorithms for battery charging, discharging. We are looking for battery chemistry additions for temperatures, thermal managements, and anything to do with BMS, which can take care of these problems of typically of India. So like I told about telematics, navigation displays, integrated displays, these are distinctive features. There are so many IoT devices in India, but if there is a distinctive feature from a marketing point of view or a customer point of view, we are keen to have that type of a collaboration also. So these are some of the things in which we thought we can again reopen the chapters. We were talking to some of the Taiwanese companies, but with this new full force of localization now, and we are in the middle of that, we believe this is the right time to have technology arrangements when we are localizing. Thank you so much. Here we are. Once again, thank you for giving me opportunity.
非常谢谢 Gill 先生分享有关印度电动机车的趋势以及当地的政府政策。我们陆续在5月及6月有 5G 专网、机械、电子零组件等热门议题的研讨会，邀请国际知名学者与我们分享他们的观点以及商机，敬请期待。我们很高兴邀请到印度车辆制造集团 JBM 的执行董事 Nishant Arya 担任今天的讲者。让我们欢迎 Arya 先生。
So welcome, ladies and gentlemen. I'll just take you through a short introduction to what JBM is doing in India and globally, and what we really see would be the EV journey and electric vehicle trajectory worldwide. I am Nishant Arya. I am the Executive Director of JBM Group and Chairman of Linde Wyman GmbH. So we are a global conglomerate, and idea is that how EV would be fueling the future and how all of us could really work together and bring in all the different stakeholders to capture these opportunities. So we as a group are a diversified conglomerate into EV ecosystem with vehicles, buses, aggregates, charging infrastructure, components, conventional buses, renewable energy and environment management. We are about 37 years young with about 25,000 people, about more than $2 billion US top line, close to 20 international alliances, and global headquarters are in Delhi NCR. As a group, we are spread across the world. So we have about 25 global locations across North America, Europe, Africa, China, India, and the ASEAN region. So we clearly see that opportunities lie across the world, and with multiple 60 manufacturing plants, more than 10 power plants, and multiple design centers, and we are exporting to 25 countries in addition to the countries we manufacture in. So we are a truly global company, and clearly seeing that how our growth always happens through different kinds of opportunities where we engage in different parts of the world. Our organization is all about having the right value system, so integrity and ethics, and really working towards seeing that how values are the right foundation for our group, and having a clear vision focused on leadership, agility, excellence, and delight, and that's what we call LEAD, if you'd see, and that is what our vision really talks about. And the fundamental of our business is the TIP approach. So enhancing technology, enabling innovation, and empowering people. And that is what we feel is a must for every single business. And that is what we try to entail, to clearly see that how every business is having the right set of technologies, and whether we develop them in-house or we partner with global companies, innovative business models, and excellence, how it can build around it, and how the right empowered people are driving those. So human capital is what we call it. I think that's a very important part for any growing group. And that's what all JBMites are proud of. So just to give you a global perspective, that if I just exclude the last year, because it's been a year of turmoil, so until 2019, more than 200 electric vehicle models have been launched. We use about 2 million barrels of oil, which EV can replace in the next 5 to 7 years. Clearly, and clearly we see that today the kind of charging time required by electric vehicle from 6 to 9 hours at the slowest scenario can go down to about half to 1.5 hours. And clearly the kind of break even we see with electric vehicles is 6 to 7 years, which will be going down further. And more than $2 billion have been raised only in 2019 by startups. And I see that in next 10 years, close to 50% of the new vehicles being manufactured would be from EV. And at a total cost of ownership level, EV would be becoming more and more competitive. And even after all this, we would be having an enhanced power demand of just 3 to 4%, which if I take 30% as a compulsory battery electric vehicle conversion in the next 10 years. So that's my perspective, and that's how I clearly see that differentiating opportunity between the global and the India scenario can be brought in here, which offers a lot of new aspects for companies to work together. Why is this actually happening? And now I'll talk more about India, that how we as a country are transitioning into EV, and the disruption is being caused by our import bill. We import majority of our crude oil, which is about 85% of our requirements, and that is growing substantially if you'd see from 2019 to 2030. So it's more than 100% growth. And clearly the import bill is rising, which is going to close to $200 billion. Our crude oil requirement is increasing. And there, if we see clearly, if I just talk about transportation here, that's the second largest contributor. And that is when the density of vehicles in India, if I talk about passenger vehicles, is still 30 per thousand. And we see that in the next 10 years or so, it will grow more than double. Then the transportation will be contributing more than 35% to the pollution. And this is what is a big cause of concern for health and other reasons in India, why we are looking at electric vehicles and many other technologies. If you see top 20 cities in the world, close to 14 cities are in India, which is a huge matter of concern, which is way beyond the WHO limit of 25 micrograms. And the PM10 and PM2.5 SO2 levels, NO2 levels are at dangerous levels. And clearly, this needs to be addressed immediately. Otherwise, this is not sustainable. And as I shared, transportation is the second largest contributor to this, what I have tried to depict through my pictures. And Delhi, the capital of India, is on the top of this list, so which is very disturbing. And clearly, actions need to be taken around it. I've just tried to map generation to consumption of different kinds of clean mobility fuels. In India, we have compressed natural gas, which is CNG, biofuels like ethanol, other biofuels, hybrid vehicles, fuel cells, and electric vehicles. Today, if we see in India, the Indian government hasn't promoted hybrids much. They feel that we should be going directly to electric. and we are promoting CNG in a huge way. We are having set up about 10,000 CNG stations in next 10 years. There's a huge focus on biofuels, India being an agri economy, and we have a lot of agri waste. And simultaneously, hydrogen is coming up. But today, the biggest focus is electric. And electric, we see that in India, we are having a large penetration of solar energy, wind energy, and right distribution network, which can be integrated with a charging network. So how we can have an end-to-end from generation to consumption opportunities for companies in India, how we can really collaborate with our friends from Taiwan, different technologies which they have. So this is the whole spectrum, larger than life, which starts from generation of electricity to consumption and all the technologies in the middle. So, and now I'll touch upon electric primarily. So coming to electric, we see there are multiple stakeholders in electric, whether it's cities, it's operators, energy suppliers, who are willing to see how we can provide a robust e-mobility solution. And in a city, their concerns are primarily around particulate matter, noise pollution, quality of life, sustainability. The customers and transport operators look at that, how can they reduce cost, they can make their vehicles and other energy solutions more sustainable, they can create an infrastructure which is efficient, and they can maintain and operate it. Multiple OEMs want to really see that how can they sell vehicles, and rather than selling vehicles, how can they move to selling solutions and services and give them a long-term perspective to our customers here. And at Discoms, they see that the electricity they are selling, how is it a green electricity, how they are working to sustain the grid, and how they're adding many more new customers. So each stakeholder is bringing its own opportunity for collaborating, bringing in their competencies, and creating a common ground for this collaboration. And here is where we can clearly understand that the influencers in electrification are primarily around battery, customer, government, and charging infrastructure. This is what I call the key drivers. So whether the battery prices, the performance with the lifespan, weight, efficiency, new chemistries, the localization of those chemistries, what are the resources of those chemistries, how sustainable it is from a longer term. We are talking about nickel or cobalt or lithium or manganese. There are so many different technologies which are being used, and there's no right or wrong. Clearly, depending on the application, the right technology can be brought in, and companies are having that know-how worldwide. But it's so fast evolving, the challenge of redundancy can be taken up very clearly here, and how companies can work through it is something very important. And those companies will be emerging as winners. And then going up to recycling of the battery so that there's no toxic waste, hazardous waste being created. And on the other hand, if I move to the other spectrum of customers, there's a lot of range anxiety. People feel that maybe electric vehicles may stop on the way. What is the economic rationale? What's the time taken? What's the convenience? The vehicle performance? What kind of features will I have? Will it be user friendly? Will it be affordable? Will it be giving me luxury ride like comfort? All those things go in there. And clearly today there's a huge after sales market in India and across the world with our existing ICE fossil fuel based vehicles. With this, the number of moving parts reduce substantially, but at the same time, for batteries, for charging, it requires a totally different skill set. So for that skill set, what can we have in our after sales? How are we developing that network across the country? How are you working with different stakeholders there? What is going to be the resale value of the vehicle once the lifetime is over? Who's going to buy this vehicle? Will it get scrapped? What will happen? There's no trend analysis which is available, and people really see that they would like to avoid risks to the maximum extent possible. At the same time, does the government regulatory framework support this? How are they incentivizing companies, manufacturers or end consumers, or government is looking at a long-term program, or it is going to be like solar, like initially they acted as a catalyst for optimizing the price, creating demand and supply, aligning it for the longer term, and then it was self-sustainable, like what happened in solar energy, and the prices kept coming down, and the technology got stabilized. And similarly, like in India, we had Euro 4 to Euro 6 shift, so that also helped because the Euro 6 vehicles, the cost is higher, and that reduces the parity gap between the electric vehicles and the ICE vehicles. And simultaneously, we can look at charging infrastructure, the penetration of charging infrastructure, whether it's public, whether it's private, whether it's business. It's what is the model which we are following? What is the utilization factor? It has to be integrated with real estate, logistics. So holistically, a master planning has to be seen, a urban master plan, which covers each of these elements very clearly and really addresses the customer's needs. And then people feel, will I do fast charging? Will it drain my battery? Is it going to be efficient? Is that the way to look at? Or I should be looking at overnight charging, slow charging. So all these things are doing the rounds, which I will try and address more through my presentation here. Why are we talking about e-mobility? What are the expectations we have? So I call it 3C. So clean, connected, comfortable, and 1S. So 3C, 1S is the approach which I look at clearly here, because how it is reducing pollution and how we clearly see that we are able to improve the lives of the people. Simultaneously, we want to go for mass adoption. We want to reduce our imports as a nation. We want to clearly see that the predictability of such kind of systems can be there. Very good scheduling, higher efficiency for operators, increasing ridership. We are seeing a lot of taxi hailing services where companies like Uber, Grab, in India, Ola are really doing the rounds and are creating a lot of noise around it. And they are talking about sustainability as well. So does that make an impact on a common man? How they want to have stress-free driving, gearless experience, which really makes their life more comfortable and more easy. It's a very superior experience what they have, and real-time tracking can be done. Advanced safety is there in place. So I think all these features really make it very important. And how we are talking about zero emission, we are talking about this comfort and the smoothness of driving, surveillance cameras, how safety for women, safety for every individual in the country can be ensured. When we talk about that, why we are talking about green transportation, what are the areas within green transportation, whether it's two-wheelers, three-wheelers, four-wheelers, and buses. And we clearly see that there's a huge focus on e-autos, which is three-wheelers in Southeast Asia. In some places, we call it tuk-tuks, e-rickshaws, e-taxis, and intra-city and intercity buses even now, and some high-speed two-wheelers as well. But the primary focus is on public transportation, if we'd see, because the capacity utilization and the utilization of those vehicles is much higher than personal mobility, which will definitely come up. But I think public transportation will be the first to engage and come up in the future, especially in a country like India, where we have such a large population. That's a demographic dividend which we have today. And moving from there, you see that approximately the majority of the households are using in one form or the other buses or auto rickshaws, railway, taxis, rickshaws. So you see the percentage keeps dropping down as we go in different forms of mobility. But these are all public transport solutions which we are talking about here, and how technology and how the mobility solutions are really driving consumer preferences from one way to other. Because if they're getting comfortable solutions, if they're getting affordable solutions, if they're getting luxury ride like comfort solutions, then they want to adopt buses or trams or railway or auto rickshaws or taxis here. So which clearly shows that the density of such kind of vehicles will go as the quality goes up, availability is improved, and they want to have this. And that is where we clearly see that enabling new business models, financing models, and technology will be really certain key enablers which will define the whole industry as it moves forward. And I feel that technology part is where a lot of role can be played, and maybe some new business models by companies in Taiwan where they have experience and they have really seen this transition towards EV. And with their experience, I think a lot of things, we don't need to reinvent the wheel there. But why we talk about e-buses here clearly, we see that sustainability is very important. It's a key driver for national wealth. At the same time, how are we reducing traffic from the roads? How are we really seeing that? Again, I talked about asset utilization. So when I compare to a diesel bus to electric bus, the difference in energy per kilometer is about 71%. I take the difficult driving conditions in India with a lot of traffic, road conditions to be 42%, which is significantly higher. So that is where we can clearly see that if such a service is provided, if such a product is manufactured, which is world-class product, everyone would like to use it. And that's the difference which is clearly available here and which all of us can see. So we talk about total cost of ownership clearly here. So even when we have a proactive push from the government, which is high, and then we look at the market, which is customer demand, which is favorable due to positive TCO, and then we look at the current status quo, which is pushing to the rapid adoption, which is the ideal scenario with the favorable TCO. But as you'd see, that government policy framework is just an initiator, a catalyst in this case. But evolving technologies in electric vehicles is what is going to drive the TCO finally. And that is where the opportunity comes in for the companies to come to India, to work with Indian companies, Indian OEMs across the supply chain, and really see what they can contribute. So the positive TCO and a clear roadmap for that is what is important, which will create that attractiveness for the end customer. I think a holistic model is what we are looking at. So starting from planning, so with the demand assessment, different routes, the implementation of the acquisition of different infrastructure, operation and maintenance. So any technologies around these areas also, where you talk about SaaS, we talk about revenue collection systems, fleet management systems, depot systems, battery replacement, second life of battery. You talk about the ITS systems, control room equipments. So I think in addition to the other points which we have already discussed, I think this brings in a lot of opportunities and how things can be automated to a large extent as possible, which can really drive these businesses in the future and create a large scale for all stakeholders. Similarly, for a successful partnership, whether it is private companies like ours or energy companies or government, I think all have a very key role to play and definitely have a very integrated approach to make it successful. So now I'll give you a bit of a glimpse of what the Indian government is doing for electric vehicles. So Government of India, through its body, which is EESL, Energy Efficiency Services Limited, had deployed that they should be buying multiple electric vehicles on lease and leasing them to different government bodies. And then definitely a large focus has been on the FAME 2, which is the policy framework for electric vehicles. And I'll talk more about it in detail in the next few slides. So this policy of FAME 2 was launched, which is the faster adoption and manufacturing of electric and hybrid vehicles to promote electric vehicles and EV charging in India. So that was launched in April 19 and which is there up to March 22. And before this, we had FAME 1, which was there from April 15 to March 19. And then significant changes were made in FAME 2 to really more boost the whole structure. And it is doing extremely well now, where incentives have been given on a per kilowatt hour basis for 3-wheelers, 4-wheelers, and 2-wheelers. And idea is to set up charging infrastructure across the country. And then the disbursements are happening on a regular basis. Local state governments are being worked upon. The different dealerships are selling these vehicles and they're getting these incentives on a regular basis. And whether we talk about commercial purposes or we talk about the personal mobility, both are being promoted equally here. And this clearly shows that there's a room for everybody. And as you'd see here, that in 3-wheelers, buses and 2-wheelers has been the prime focus. So about 1 million 2-wheelers you'd see in the first row. And there, the subsidy amount is also pretty good per vehicle, which is close to about 250 to 300 US dollars per vehicle. Then we have the 3-wheelers, which are the tuk-tuks in Southeast Asia, which is about 500,000. There we see about 650 to 700 US dollars subsidy per vehicle, and a total amount of close to 300 million US dollars in total. And for 2-wheelers, sorry, I forgot to mention that, is about 250 plus US dollars. And then we talk about the electric buses, where we see a lion's share, where there's about 7,000 buses. For each bus, we see about close to 70,000 US dollars as subsidy, and in total, close to about 450 to 500 million dollars as a subsidy amount in this case. And in addition to this, the focus is also on charging, so not only vehicles. So the focus is to really see that how chargers are being deployed as well. And then in our recent budget, we had a huge opportunity in this domain where the government has given a huge boost with respect to vehicle scrappage. So a lot of older vehicles will be going off the road, and newer, less polluting or zero polluting vehicles will be coming on the road. About close to $2.5 billion, which you'd see in the second bullet, 18,000 crores of fund has been allocated for public-private partnership for 20,000 buses. There's an infrastructure allocation for multiple vehicles, 100% exemption in Indian infrastructure funds when you're investing in them. And clearly, we are seeing that the government wants a lot of investment to happen in this domain. So if you would see the last bullet, so close to about 10 billion US dollars is as incentive is being given for automotive, auto components, auto electronics, and for battery pack and cell manufacturing in India, which is the highest allocation in the whole country. The whole country has received close to 25 to 30 billion dollars of incentives and all schemes, and out of that, $10 billion have come only to the automotive sector for these activities. So I clearly see in the area of automotive components, in automotive, in electronics, in battery packs, in cell, and other small semiconductors, Taiwan can play a really important role and partner with India. And the perspective is self-reliant India, which they call Atmanirbhar Bharat. So if companies are coming to India, investing in these areas, and we as a company are also partnering with many such companies and working, so we'd be happy to understand what companies are doing in this domain clearly. I'll talk more about it in detail as we move forward. So at JBM, we call our system as the EV ecosystem. So starting from the vehicle to aggregates to power to charging infrastructure, we have a very important role of artificial intelligence and operation and maintenance and an integrated mobility system to drive this. So first I'll talk about the OEM part. So at JBM, we really feel that how we are using technology to bring in green, safe, comfortable, and affordable public transportation solutions. As you'd see, we have a clear slogan of "Let our city breathe," and to have clear know-how around such kind of vehicles, where we are giving a very simple solution, and we are really ensuring that today, in many areas, people use it as a need or a choice. They use public transport because they have to and they don't have an option, or they're using it because that's the preferred mode of transportation. It's so comfortable. So that's what you're trying to propel here. So these are deployments of our different buses across the country. And we have a clear commitment to clock about 1 billion e-kilometers in the next 3 years. We have different buses, which we call E9, E12, and many other platforms. And our electric buses are called EcoLife. And they are deployed across in different cities. And we see that with every electric bus, we are able to reduce about 350,000 liters of diesel in its lifetime of 10 years and about 1,000 tons of CO2, which is very significant considering the kind of buses we have in India, which is more than close to 2 million buses we have in our country. So that's a very significant part, and how buses are now getting removed from the roads and new vehicles are coming, which are either electric, which is zero emission, or low emission CNG buses, or some diesel buses, which are Euro 6 now. We are working, these are the two biggest airlines in India. So we are working with multiple airlines. These are JBM buses at the airlines, Indigo Airlines and SpiceJet Airlines. They're using at multiple airports. Then our model, which we look at in electric buses, is that there are two ways to look at it. That whether you have a depot plug-in charging, where you are having large battery packs, and which means less number of passengers, or you are having fast charging, where you see that the terminal fast charging, smaller battery packs and more passengers, and you are charging more frequently. So we have both these options clearly. And why we're talking about these options here? Because as we see this, so there's a fixed cost, there are operational costs which are involved in this, and variable costs. And eventually you're looking at total cost of ownership, which is the input for the model, and output for the end customers. What's the mileage we get? What's the energy efficiency we have in such kind of vehicles? What kind of lightweighting we can do? What are the optimum power efficiencies can be improved, parasitic losses can be removed, and how road load data acquisition can be done through route mapping, and which at the end of it all is improving the customer value proposition. So I think that is most important here, clearly. And this is where I think a lot of companies from Taiwan can play a very important role, where having different materials, processes for lightweighting or powertrain configurations with which they can become more efficient, more effective, having a higher torque with a smaller size and better lifespan, removing the losses, reducing the losses substantially, and also clearly seeing the system efficiency, how it can be brought in, because it's not only the hardware. So hardware and software both put together drive this. And clearly for every route, how can we create a customized solution? So that is a level of proposition which we are looking at. And all of it contributes to the total cost of ownership model, which converts into the cost per kilometer today. Just talking about our buses across the country, whether in all the top cities in the country, you look at Delhi, Mumbai, Ahmedabad, Gurugram, Noida, Chennai, Port Blair. So whether it's port cities or it is big cities, we have been giving our services across all cities clearly, and a lot of experience. So the different chief ministers, honorable chief ministers who are driving such solutions with our buses across different cities is heartening to see. And in other parts of North India, then we see there's a chief minister of Delhi who was looking, we gave a complete fleet of about 1,000 buses we are looking at, out of which already 300 have been given and 700 will be given in due course of time. So I think that is something very important, which will redefine the transportation. And this is, for your information, the largest CNG fleet as well in the world. And they're planning to go to about 11,000 buses in Delhi in a span of time. So this is a huge opportunity. And out of 11,000, probably half would be electric and half would be CNG. So, and again, we as a company are the largest player in Delhi, and clearly demonstrating with our products and the ride and comfort which we have provided here. This is in Mumbai, where we have our vehicles and how we are taking end-to-end perspectives with buses, chargers, power infrastructure, operation maintenance, everything. We are working on that. Buses in Ahmedabad, how we have done all these projects. Andaman, we have worked on these projects clearly. This was a flag off in Delhi again, and you see Make in India. So we have a very high level of localization. We work with a lot of international partners, clearly look to see that how we can bring their global products to India, and at the end of it, how we can localize them as well, and have a clear roadmap for the future, giving them a very high volume and partnering for the longer term. So not having a transactional approach, but a very strategic approach. The second aspect of our ecosystem is the aggregates. So on aggregates, I think this is a part which would be most interesting for you, where we clearly talk about the battery pack. So in the pack, whether it's a thermal management system, whether it's a BMS, battery management system, or we talk about the cells, modules, packs, I think there's a huge opportunity where the companies from Taiwan can really participate in the whole supply chain here, or even at a tier 2, tier 3 level, many other electronic components which are not mentioned here in battery pack. And similarly in the power electronic or distribution system, where we talk about DC-DC converters, connectors, cables, relays, power management systems to really optimize the power requirement, traction motors, hub reduction motors, controllers, cooling systems for motors and controllers, and their subcomponents and the whole supply chain. Chargers, in chargers, we talk about off-board, on-board chargers, pantographs, charging guns, and then clearly the monitors, and clearly seeing what is the life of those chargers, what is the efficiency level of those chargers. Then we look at other VCUs, vehicle control units, collision protection systems, electric braking systems, controllers for regenerative braking, EV air conditioning, heating systems, and many other products. It's not an illustrative list, it's an illustrative list, not an exhaustive list, sorry. So I think there are many areas where a lot of work can be done, and especially with the complete bandwidth of semiconductors, it brings in a lot of opportunities here clearly. And in India, we clearly see that there's a huge roadmap on the battery chemistry, which I was mentioning briefly earlier. So in a span of 10 years, I personally see, starting from about 110 to 220 watt hour per kg. We can clearly go in next few years to 300 watt hour per kg, and the life cycle has to go up from like 700 cycles, what we're looking at in LFP, to about like 10,000 cycles in solid state batteries. And it will vary from application to application, whether one goes for LFP or NMC, LMO, lithium titanate, sulfur. So I think all these technologies have their own clear perspective of how things can be done, and that is what would redefine the whole market and the industry clearly. And because we are looking for, as I mentioned earlier, efficiency and system efficiency and product efficiency, which can really ensure competitiveness not only in Indian market, for global market, which can bring in scale, which definitely drives sustainability. Then battery packs, whether for buses, for three-wheelers, which is the tuk-tuks, two-wheelers, energy storage systems, and supplying other parts for energy storage systems, I think, and there's a huge opportunity in this space, because now with renewable energy for grid balancing and for increasing the plant load factor, we are also using a lot of energy storage systems as well. And that is ensuring that we are getting power at the peak hours, and which also brings in a lot of microgrids, and we are able to power up some of the smaller regions where the grid availability is not there. So I think many such applications are there which can be clearly seen. We talk about traction motors, whether it's permanent magnet PMSM motors or induction motors or ASMs, clearly, and what kind of SRM systems we are bringing in the motors, and whether in-wheel drive, hub reduction motors. An idea is that how we are increasing the operating life, how we are reducing the energy consumption, and the right balance of innovation and scale is what is important. How we are not depending upon rare earth metals in certain cases, and at the same time we are migrating towards new technologies and which are more independent on ASM, SRM. There are multiple views on this, and we as a company are also quite agnostic and are taking our decisions in due course of time, how we are clearly adapting all different kinds of motors. But the next few years, I think, will lay the ground of what the future will be. In FAME, we actually have a clear target, what we see of localization, clearly, of whether start with the air conditioning systems, compressors, power control and wiring systems, circuit breakers, safety devices, charging units, the charging inlets, traction battery packs, electronic throttles, VCUs, traction motors, instrument panels, lighting. And it's not an exhaustive list is much longer. I've just tried to capture few of the EV parts that are relevant for companies in Taiwan, most probably. And we are going through this transition of localization. So there are multiple opportunities for you to partner with companies in India. And you'll clearly see we have facilitated multiple partnerships with our suppliers in certain cases. Certain areas where we as a company are personally focusing, we have partnered with companies across the world to really see, because the sky is the limit and the kind of opportunities which are available here are tremendous. And clearly, if you have a right technology roadmap, a lot can be done. Going to the next element of solar energy. So we at JBM are engaged in solar power generation also, and are setting up multiple solar power plants across the country. This is one of our solar power plants, and clearly seeing how we are integrating from generation to consumption, what I started my presentation with in the beginning, just to give you a glimpse. Then charging infra. So our perspective is that how we are working on charging infrastructure, irrespective of whether it's our vehicle or not, for two-wheelers, autos, which is basically tuk-tuks, cars, LCVs, and buses, and reducing about 1 billion kg of CO2 in the next few years, clearly from our charging solutions, and really having a high level of utilization, global technologies on this area again, with which the chargers can have a right life and efficiency as well, because we are having all different kinds of charging solutions, whether it's slow charging, fast charging, opportunity charging. So, and all of them have their own pros and cons, clearly, efficiency levels, and battery sizes are high, moderate, and low, and the power requirements are very different. So I think accordingly, it can be aligned, and each one of them provide a different element for the application here. Similarly, we see that whether we talk about passenger capacity vis-a-vis batteries, or opportunity charging and depot charging, and I have just taken an example in this case of an e-bus, electric bus fleet, high autonomy per charge, number of charging stations. So complete planning is very important, which also defines the infrastructure cost, energy supply and consumption cost, fast charging timing, slow and fast. So I think all these elements, one has to weigh the right options for selecting, and we as a company are having comprehensive solutions across these areas. So any technologies in these areas also will be very welcome for Taiwanese companies to look at India and to really showcase their know-how, for us not to reinvent our wheels and really kickstart the whole process of moving further into a leadership position. So, and another point which we clearly look forward to here is that how remote monitoring can be done. We are able to look at energy generation as well, grid monitoring, management of fleets, clear integration of the charging stations with OEMs and the service management. So I think a very comprehensive view is what is important here, which really defines the whole opportunity. Then coming to artificial intelligence, so like how product lifecycle management is so important, and software plays such a key role in the designing clear-cut estimation, defining design cycles, reducing the number of iterations, to inventory monitoring for better yield management, how we are having manpower and machine integration to man to machine integration, predictive maintenance for our chargers, for our vehicles, for our battery packs, predictive manpower demand, factory assistance, clear visual inspections, and tracking and traceability, whatever is getting manufactured, how we can look at that. And that is what would ensure the time to market, which is the need of the hour, because the customers want the world-class products as of yesterday, not even tomorrow or today. So one has to clearly see that how your whole ecosystem is powered by AI. And we at JBM really believe that AI is the DNA and the core of our future technologies, which can be another area, whether in manufacturing or aggregates or vehicles or chargers or batteries, where how it can be deployed. There are multiple ways AI can be used. So we'd be happy to engage and understand with different companies in Taiwan how they're looking at it. Then coming to the whole ecosystem, how we are integrating it, I think that's very important. So end-to-end solutions, which we are looking at today, starting from feasibility to technology selection, power charging infrastructure, the charging and power infra, how it's sustainable for more than 10 years, scheduling the vehicles, capacity building, route planning, stakeholder management, all stakeholders, which includes the whole supply chain partners, technology partners, sustainable business models, and eventually leading to total cost of ownership and the project lifecycle management. And we are clearly an end-to-end solution provider. That's our value proposition, and with a clear and demonstrated project planning and execution. So I think with the right technology in electric buses, I think that is what is the key here. And looking at the integrated ecosystem, just to reiterate, starting from clean energy, energy storage, charging infrastructure to electric vehicles, any kind of electric vehicles, I think is important, because then generation to consumption, everything becomes green. We also have a well-to-wheel concept, so which I'll personally look at as a big focus area for us, starting from the oil well to the vehicle wheel. I think it's important to clearly see how companies can look at this. And we personally believe that electric vehicles also half the problem, which is from the tank to wheel, not the oil well to the vehicle tank. So if for end-to-end green, how we are generating green energy in different depots or any charging locations, they become independent. And with respect to their power utilization and power production, auxiliary power, energy storage, and the electric vehicles, and the passengers who are coming to the electric vehicles are having an end-to-end approach. So what I was trying to share in the previous slide, we have demonstrated at different locations with our projects here. And here your grid monitoring system, energy management system, all these things are embedded into this approach, where I think multiple companies in Taiwan would have a lot of know-how in addition to the other areas in electric vehicles or EV aggregates. So would be a very good opportunity for each one of you. How we are looking at adopting electric vehicles, because by institutionalizing EV zones as certain airports or smart cities or heritage sites, clear direction, what we have, what I shared with you, FAME, the faster adoption for manufacturing of electric vehicles, clear roadmap, and fiscal support, which is there with us in terms of subsidy, and in different cities, power prices have been rationalized, the parking spaces have been given free. They are now trying to see how priority lending can be given to electric vehicle sector. So I think these all elements are very important for success of the EV market in India. And EV market will never be a local market, will always be a global market, and that is where companies can work together globally. And the supply chain development, I think this is which is most important for you, and this is where the PLI scheme comes in, the production linked incentives. And clearly a lot can be done by deploying facilities in India for assembly or manufacturing in phases as you have gained volumes, and as you're looking at making India a big market and an export market as well for the future. I think the huge opportunity lies, because the kind of local volumes as well as the competencies we have with the local manpower is phenomenal here. And R&D and skill development is a big focus, which are enabling electric vehicles. So engineering and designing, making in India, making for the world, and partnering with the best companies in the world to do so. And obviously, nothing can happen with the right power and infrastructure for executing all of this. And clearly the perspective is that how focus on R&D and demonstration activities, in addition to other battery recycling and reuse for improving the competitiveness, non-fiscal benefits, and disincentivizing conventional vehicles, mass communication, regulatory frameworks, charging infrastructure investments, home charging, and a lot of education and skill training is important. And at the end of it, I would just like to end my presentation with the motto which JBM has: think global, act local. And I think companies in Taiwan can really benefit from this. And I wish each one of you best of luck. And we would be happy to connect with any of the companies who are having any technologies in any of the areas I have mentioned. Or if you feel, based on your extensive experience, things could be done to connect, to understand, and to really work in India, and not only work in India for India, but work for the world and creating a global scale and market. Thank you, really appreciate it, and a pleasure to be here amongst all of you. Thanks.
谢谢阿雅先生与我们分享印度电动车发展的最新动态，也让我们了解了印度电动车的生态系统。最后，感谢各位的收看。如果有任何想要听的主题，或是给我们任何的建议，请在下方的问卷区告诉我们。我们下次再见，拜拜。